Good morning. Good afternoon. It's Al Faramushwana here, a journalist at Eyewitness News. Mr. Malema, we saw at the White House that former President Donald Trump pulled out EFF footage as a reason to consider sanctions against South Africa. You are now describing him as a new Hitler. Are you not concerned that such statements could possibly provoke further hostility towards South Africa? And secondly, what do you think is the appropriate sanction that could be imposed to Duzile Zuma Sambula, who is accused of luring men to the Russian front lines? Thank you.
Number two.
No, thank you very much, President. My name is Lunga. I'm from the Mail and Guardian. President, I think you just took out the question that I had on the issue of KZN. Will you be mobilizing the ANC, because you might be needing support from the ANC to actually remove Tamintuli as premier? And the second question would be, what is your stance on the visit? I know the king of Abatem, Butalimpov, is one of the kings that you visited quite several times. What is your stance on his visit to Israel? And thirdly, we know about the court judgment against you that in the firearm case. If the court sanctions that you go to prison, is it something that you're going to challenge, or as a revolutionarist, would you be willing to go there to serve time? And on a lighter note, President, it's a closing of the year. Don't come for me, please. But it was very strange not to see you at the ad hoc committee when Sbia was there. Was there a reason of some sort that you didn't attend when Sbia was there? Thank you very much.
Number three.
Good morning, leadership. We want to ask about G20. We noticed that we are the only black people in the room when it's lots of white people there in the G20. So I wanted you to unpack for us why we should support the G20, what it stands for, and if America is the biggest economy and it's rejecting you specifically, then does it not mean that it's not for us? Because the EFF pushes Africanist politics, and if G20 is rejecting you, then does that not mean that as a collective we should be rejecting them? Thank you.
Number four. Alfred, can switch off your mic.
Zinoko Mhlaba from Newsroom Africa. Just to add on the question of Trump and the US under the G20, you say you are calling for the boycott of the summit. What strategies or what practical steps do you think South African government should take in terms of supporting that boycott? And secondly, on the issue of King Dalindyebo, there have been a debate whether kingdoms or traditional leaders, should be involved in consolidating international policy, international relations policies. What's your take on how international relations policies are consolidated through various sectors, whether we're talking about government and traditional leadership? Thirdly, in terms of preparing for the local government elections, are you going to take any steps in terms of restructuring some of the provinces' structures that have not been doing well, but also KZN specifically? Are you happy with how the leadership there has done throughout the by-elections, but also the Eastern Cape? You're also mentioning that you're making inroads in suburban areas. Can you give us more specific strategies in terms of how you're going to infiltrate those communities further? Thank you.
Number five.
Good afternoon. My name is Refilo Muchwari. I'm from Journal News. It's a newspaper in Free State, Northwest and Northern Cape. CIC, with regards to, the preparations for the local government, what are your thoughts on new political parties that are being formed, particularly those that are breakaway from the EFF, for example, the Maibuye party? Do you think that this is going to or this might reduce the EFF votes during elections? And my second question would be with regarding the ad hoc committee on Madlanga Commission. Do you have any kind of relationship with Ket Matlala? Thank you.
President.
Thank you very much. I hope I'll be audible from here. Look, the footage that is being played at the Oval Offices is being used to peddle lies about South Africa. And therefore, that cannot be used to persuade us to retreat from our stance, because there is nothing that we are saying which will strengthen the case for South Africa against Trump's position, which is very clear, of isolating South Africa. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. The man has taken a decision to go against South Africa, not for what the EFF says, for the South African government position against Israel. Taking the Israeli government to International Court of Justice is what has offended the USA. The relationship of South Africa with China, with Russia, with Brazil and India, our participation in BRICS is what has offended the USA. So it doesn't matter whether the EFF video is played or not. That is actually trying to find a reason, because you have no other reason to attack South Africa. I don't think there is anything we have done or anything we have said that will worsen the situation between South Africa and Adolf Hitler of a modern day called Donald Trump. So it doesn't matter how many times you go to the Oval Office. Our president went there with his clowns to go and try and explain themselves, and it didn't work. The biggest clown of all of them is Kumbuzo Nchabeni, who came to me at the funeral of Didi Mabuza, unprovoked, and said to me, no, after that Oval Office meeting, Trump has assured her that he's going to attend the G20. Even Elon Musk, who's her friend, I don't know how they're friends, whether she was being boastful to me or what, for what purpose, I don't know, assured her that Trump is going to attend the G20. I'm talking here a minister of state security who has got no capacity to actually detect that there is no such a thing that is going to happen at the G20. So really, South Africa must just assume its position and concentrate on internal investment, beneficiation, grow our economy, while we are still trying to find other international trading partners. This is not going to end with Donald Trump as regime. Whoever says when Donald Trump leaves, this will change, it's not true. You know that Israel controls the USA. Whoever is going to come after Trump, he's going to be told that South Africa is hostile to Israel, and therefore America has got no business with South Africa. So for as long as South Africa maintains its position against Israel, you must know that whatever happens, even if Trump dies tomorrow, we're still in a serious crisis for a very long time, and we need to prepare ourselves for this battle which is ahead, and which needs to be confronted with determination and without fear. I don't know of any Dudu who's facing any charges of any arrest for taking people to Russia. I saw people opening cases against him. And I'm very conflicted because Dudu, anyway, she's my friend. So maybe SG should have responded to that one. So I just saw people line up, going to a police station to open a case. And then I saw her also line up to open a case against another person and all of that. So as far as I'm concerned, SG, unless I'm wrong and I can be corrected, there are no charges against Dudu Zile for taking people to Russia. So let's not be ahead of ourselves. Let's allow the process to take its own course. And if she's charged, and if she's engaged in illegalities, the law must take its own course. And she must be held accountable if she has done that. But until then, let's not be driven by some excitement. Let's wait until we hear. I know she's in court for I see you, for tweeting I see you, July unrest, and then they said she incited the violence. And then they charge her for something she said after. So the violence takes place, and then they burn a truck or they steal chickens from a truck or a mall or something. Then she says after, I see you. Then they say that tweet incited the stealing of chicken. But by the time she said, I see you, the chicken was stolen. So I'm still to understand what really is going on there. You are unnecessarily going to make Dalimpof a hero out of a non-existing case. So that's my issue. But well, she's before courts, and she's going to answer to that. We support, I said, the motion of no confidence. You know, you need to differentiate between supporting a party and supporting a motion. So there is a motion on the table, irrespective of who put that motion. If the motion makes sense to the EFF, we'll support it. We supported a motion in Parliament of motion of no confidence against Zuma put by DA, which we have serious ideological differences with. But the motion at the time made sense, and we supported it. The motion in Gauteng didn't make sense. Panyaza has made blunders. Panyaza is not our favorite cup. If there was a way, we should have our own preferred premier as the EFF. But you're not going to use your issues with the ANC in Gauteng to destabilize government for political expediency. We're not going to allow that. And therefore, we refuse to align ourselves with that motion. We are an organization inspired by superior logic. It doesn't matter who you are. If you make sense, we'll agree with you. We're not petty like that. We're not kids. We're not girlish. We're not girls in high school. It doesn't matter how you agree or disagree with them. As long as you don't you don't agree with them on something, you disagree on everything. That's not us. We're not boyish, who hold boyish differences and take them into a political arena where a logic must reign supreme. So in this case, the Secretary General has been assigned to go to KZN to make sure that motion succeed. And we call on MKP to call Jacob Zuma to come to those negotiations, because the problem with MKP is that you talk to them, you agree. It takes weeks to come back and execute because they are still looking for Jacob Zuma, who's nowhere to be found. So if they are serious about that motion, Zuma must be part of the negotiations. Right from tonight, is it tomorrow, tonight, over the weekend, we are going to speak even to the ANC people. And we will speak to the ANC if he's prepared to talk to us formally. But if he's not talking to us formally, nothing stops us from going to speak to ANC individual members of legislature to speak to their conscience and do what is in the best interest of the people of KZN. The ANC's argument is they've deployed fools everywhere. I mean, look at Dr. What is his name? Surname? Tlakaza of Ikuruleni. The guy is inherently stupid. He's a fool. He doesn't even deserve to be a chairperson of a burial society, because December we are likely not to get our groceries or monies if that one becomes a chairperson of a burial society. A fool driven by its ego, testosterone, and all manner of things that are not political. But because we agreed that where a party has got the majority should provide that mayor, we can't dictate to the ANC who they must put because they've got the majority. And that is one of the ANC policies and principles, by the way. The MKP has got the majority in KZN. The people of KZN gave you a signal. Whether there is capacity in MKP or not, I'm really not interested. Maybe the people of KZN love them foolish like that. But who am I to determine what the people of KZN want? They've spoken what they want. They've given us the direction. And we ought to respect that if we respect democracy. So, more than anything, that is what inspires us as the EFF. And if the MKP gets in government and become corrupt and mismanage government of KZN, we are there to hold them accountable, to fight with them like we are doing with the president of South Africa. We are doing with the premier of Gauteng and everywhere else. In Gauteng, the people still gave the ANC more numbers at what, 36%. That's why they provided the premier. MKP is not 36%, it's 45. 47%. It's not 36. It is democracy when 36 is ruling Gauteng. We allow that. But we refuse to allow democracy to rule KZN at 47%. That doesn't make us an MKP friends. We are not friends. Our relationship is still what it was yesterday. But we cannot go against the will of the people. At least respect the will of the people. It doesn't matter how much you disagree with those people in KZN. We'll continue to have a relationship with the royal family of Abatembu as a royal family recognized by our nation, by our people. Dalinja was politics as an individual, and if he's a member, is he a member? Did we check him on the system? If he's a member, he's no longer a member because he defined himself outside the organizational policy. He's not us who chased him away. If he's a member, he chased him away. So you have no business, none whatsoever, with being a member of the EFF. But do we require kings to be members of the EFF for us to have a relationship with the kingdom? No. Musizulu is not a member of the EFF. I was at his wedding, and if given opportunity, I will still go and eat meat with him. His membership is irrelevant because I have to respect and recognize the traditional leadership. As it were, actually, the kings should not be allowing themselves to join political parties. Because all of us belong to that royal house. So if I stand here and say we are fighting with Abatembu as a royal family and the kingdom, it means Vuyani will have to choose between the EFF and Abatembu. And we cannot do that because of an individual political action of a king who decided to be completely out of order. The king of our temple is not a politically amateur individual. He's a trained soldier. He's from exile. He's politically trained. He understands very well the problem between Israel and Palestine. For whatever reason, he decided to do what he did. We completely disagree with that. And therefore, in our membership system, we will never have an individual who side with Israel. Never, ever. Remember, we're still fighting now for Parliament to implement a motion of no confidence, a motion passed by Parliament to close the Israeli embassy. Till to date, Ramaphosa pretends to be fighting Israel's genocide, yet the embassy of Israel is still open against a parliamentary motion that has passed. They do a domestic work of pretending to go to court and all of that. The real action will be to close this Israel. We're fighting. Whether you like it or not, we're fighting. There is a war going on. America is leading the charge for our position on Israel. What more are you scared of? Close the embassy of Israel. We cannot share a territory. We cannot share our land with murderers. Must never allow that and then pretend in international platforms as if we are with the victims and the children and women of Palestine. So that's where we are. So you see me tomorrow Esbayin with Ndalinjab. Don't say, what is that thing they call us? Flip-flopping. Melengyatele. Kukumkan kahlele. Kukumkan. Because that's who we are. It doesn't matter how I feel about his political views. Don't get it twisted. So these ANC people who treat him badly because politically he doesn't agree with them, it's wrong. It shows political immaturity. Because whatever happens, recognize that kingdom and give it the respect it deserves. Some of the things he's doing, he's being pushed away because of the way he's being treated, but it's still it's not justifiable for what he did. Being a revolutionary does not mean you must commit suicide. You said I must not be too hard, so let me not be too hard on you. That's why revolutionaries take guns and shoot at the enemy and fight the enemy. They don't say because we are revolutionaries, let's appear in front of enemies and the enemy must shoot us and kill us to demonstrate we are revolutionaries. That is committing suicide. That's not revolutionary. Actually, that is being a suicide bomber. We are not suicide bombers. I've been found guilty. Not because I committed crime. Because she's punishing me for my political views and using a non-existing criminal matter which is not there. Let me school you a little bit without fighting so that when you are at holidays, like Senzo Mukunu, you reflect on this thing, but don't announce any dissolution of PKTT. We apply for 174, me and Adrian, 174, to be discharged after the state closed its case. We say the state has not built a case against us. Therefore, discharge us. She refuses to discharge us and says, when you refuse to give 174, you mean there is a case you must answer. Fair enough. We say, okay, that's fine. I will take the stand and answer my case, which I did. Adrian refuses to answer the question. He says, no, I'm not going to take a stand. In fact, the ballistic expert will answer the case on my behalf. In fact, the gun law expert will answer the case on my behalf. In the judgment, you say that ballistic expert of Adrian did not answer the question. He was the most useless person, which means Adrian did not answer the question even through the ballistic person. Then you say, shame, the gun law expert is such a good gentleman, and yes, he contributed in the formulation of the gun law, and I can take it that far. Other than that, it's not being useful to me, which means you are dismissing that person who was answering on behalf of the Adrian. The question you said Adrian must answer is still not answered. Because you said Adrian has got a prima facie case to answer, which has been built by the state. He still doesn't answer that question. You say, no, discharge, go home. Why didn't you give him 174 at the beginning? Because you said he didn't. There's a question to be answered. He still doesn't answer that question. You say discharge. So that's a level of madness you are dealing with. An extreme incompetence. We are preparing now for a pre-sentencing trial. She still has not provided a written judgment. The social worker who prepares for my pre-sentencing trial, she's looking at the judgment through YouTube. That's the justice I'm faced with. I have to go and then appear on the 23rd and argue why I must not be sentenced. I've got nothing written. When she discharges Adrian, she just says, accused number 2, not guilty, you can go home. But she doesn't say you are not guilty on this charge because the state failed to prove this case in that they could not provide 1, 2, 3, 4 on this one. On this one, the state did not do 1, 2, 3, 4. She knows if she does that, she's now punching holes on the state case. And that applies on Malema. And I can't punch state holes, case holes for Malema because I need Malema for racism because I've got emotional attitude against Malema and I need to punish him for so many things I don't agree with him. And therefore, I'm not going to venture into the reasons why I gave accused number 2 not guilty verdict. Was seated here, we still not give reasons why accused number 2 was given a not guilty verdict. Because those reasons apply on me. You said accused number 2 gave me a gun. When you discharge accused number 2, it means you are now releasing the gun, which you say I've used to commit crime. A gun used to commit crime, once you are found guilty of using that gun, it gets seized by the state. It's no longer returned to you. A gun used to commit crime can never be returned back to the owner. So as I'm standing there, and when you are sentencing me, where is that gun you are saying I used to commit crime? Where is it? As I'm standing in this box, you are sentencing me. Where is the gun? The only gun that remains in that court is the gun I provided to the magistrate, which is a toy gun. Adrian, funny enough, Adrian was called a day before by the prosecutor before judgment was passed. Adrian was called a day before by the prosecutor to come the following day where judgment was going to be passed to come and fetch the gun. How did the prosecutor know that Adrian was not going to be found guilty and therefore he's got a duty to release the gun? The gun is released as we speak. Remember, you found me guilty with this gun. As I'm standing here, the gun should be standing next to me. Or you have used this to commit crime and therefore put the lives of people under danger. Therefore, I'm sending you to jail for 15 years. Where's the gun? So that's what you're dealing with. That's why I'm going to appeal it. You're not going to blackmail me and say I'm a revolutionary, I must not appeal it, because you're also part of the team that wants to see me in jail. What is even worse is for this one next to me on the left. If he thought he was going to be acting because I'm going to jail, I'm going to appeal. I'm going to appeal until the Constitutional Court. So you must know, I'm still around. For those who were excited, I'm still around. But we'll meet on the streets on the 23rd of January 2026. Anyone who loves the law of this country, who agrees that presiding officers must never use the courts to settle political scores, have got a reason to come out in their numbers on the 23rd and say, not in the name of our law, not in the name of our constitution, are you going to use your political differences with Malema to abuse what is entrusted with you as a presiding officer? You know, for any of you who know me, I will never run away from my responsibility. I'm a member of the ad hoc committee, member of parliament, member of leader of the EFF, its member, and a family man. You see how many responsibilities I've explained to you, including the role I play internationally. When you're not even international, you're office bound. I don't know if you have an office or you are sharing that desk in the open thing. I'm not sure if you've got a family or where, if in any of these responsibilities I explained to you. So all of these responsibilities are not going to drown because I'm sitting at the ad hoc committee. I've got a duty to all of this, including a duty to wear a hoodie and go to a school and watch my kids playing a play. I wanted to have a father do that to me. I never had it. And I'm going to do that to my children. That which I longed when I was a father, I will do it for my kids. And no animal is going to stand between me and my children. No one. Because when it comes to my children, I've got a duty to perform that. When it comes to the EFF, I've got a duty to perform that responsibility. When it comes to ad hoc committee, I've got a duty. Now, unlike ad hoc committee, in my family, in the EFF or everywhere else, I don't have an alternate. No. Unless there is an alternate in my family I don't know of. That I will not be held accountable for it. But as far as I'm concerned, I have no alternate. Now, I've got an alternate. If I'm not there, the EFF is there. And our alternate was there. The EFF was there. Leave this obsession with Malema and being pretentious that you like me when you don't like me. When I accepted to be a member, he's not giving other people a chance. Why is being a member? When I'm being a member, yeah, he must come every day. Why is he not here? Hey. I've got a colored lady with capacity, the DSG of the EFF. If you look at what she has done in that ad hoc committee, yes, she drew us some 10, 15 new votes of colors. Yeah, they like us now, right? EFF is very good with colors. I told her she must be a councillor in El Dorado Park because the way she's so popular with colors now. How was she going to be in a position she is now if at times on critical matters she's not being given an opportunity to shine and show the capacity of the EFF? That these are not just token, they are women with capacity and they are able to confront hardened criminals and hold them accountable. and all of you here, no one can say that you doubt her capacity in that ad hoc committee. And suggesting why I was not there, as if she was not there, is belittling her and downgrading her and looking down on women and worse, a colored woman. The EFF was there, and therefore that question does not arise unless it's based on sexism and racism. Be careful what you are not asking when you ask that question, because there's something you are not asking. So I'm not scared of Sibiya. Sibiya is messed up. I don't know how Sibiya is going to come out of this one. And if Sibiya was a human being, firstly, he should not have challenged his suspension. Secondly, he should not be putting us through what he's putting us. By now, Sibiya should be packing and going home and negotiating his pensions. Because if he's going to take us this long, he must know he's eating on his pension. No government is going to pay his legal fees. By the time this thing comes to an end, they say he's guilty in all front. The bills are coming in, and the bills have to be paid by pensions. The pensions will have to be garnished. So it's not for me, it's for him and his wife and his family to take that decision. Magai, let's save what is left of this thing and see what else can be done. His performance in the absence of Malema was so poor in the ad hoc committee, extremely poor, and it exposed him. So why do you need Malema? Even in the absence of Malema, Sibiya still performs so bad. The ad hoc committee still exposes him. Shame, you know, if Malema was there, it was going to be worse than that. That's what you missed, I understand. But the man still hasn't performed well in the absence of Malema. So if you thought I was staying away because I was rescuing him, or if I stayed away because I wanted to rescue him, it didn't help. It didn't serve any purpose. The guy performed very badly. You know, Ntiki, we are part of the globe. Globalization, it was not of our own design, but the world evolved to become a globe. And these multinational forums where we are able to express our views, whether we're being heard or not, make a space for us to go and articulate our views. We ought to utilize those forums. Let's take, for instance, the UN. It's one body which is a very good idea, ideally, but in practice, the big brothers don't take anything it says serious. You bomb UN missions in Palestine. You bomb people who are going to supply food. UN missions. Who are we in the bigger scheme of things? The G20 helps us to engage in global economic matters, to express what could be alternative ways to can get the world better. The G20 that emanates out of the 2008 banking crisis, which plugged the world into an economic crisis and was trying to find an alternative platform international where such things can be avoided, is now being utilized by a fascist of note to settle political scores. So you will know, Ntiki, that where we are not wanted, that's where we are going actually. There where America doesn't want us, that's where we want to go. Because it doesn't matter, we want to express our views. It doesn't matter how much veto powers they've got in the Security Council. We want to sit as a permanent member of the Security Council and challenge this thing of veto powers. We know we are not wanted there, but we want to sit there. We're not going to retreat about that. We're not going to retreat that because we're not the G20 necessarily. There's no one who doesn't want us in the G20 except this fool. It's this guy who's got a problem with us and by extension America. And America is not a G20. We are a founding member of the G20 and no one is going to push us away. We are going to mobilize international communities to condemn Trump's action. We still have a year where we need to mobilize communities. I want to say it here without any fear of contradiction. Ramaphosa handled this saga very well. If it was me, it would have been worse. He did. That's what you see, that's the thing with diplomacy and radicalism and all of that. You ought to strike a balance. The guy handled that thing very well, very successfully, in a situation where he was confronted by serious hostility. It's not easy to fight America. It has never been easy. But like Fidel Castro, we're not going to retreat. Castro, under serious difficulties, under embargo by America now for more than 60 years. Cuba without toilet papers. You know, in Cuba, when you go to a toilet, those things of toilet papers, you call them what? Ply. They count them for you. That thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, cut it and give you. They don't give you that thing of the whole roll to the bathroom. That's how much bad it is. And we agreed with the TG that we need to join the mission of the Communist Party to send food worth 1 million to Cuba. We are suffering, we are poor, deep slaughter, but we are in a much better position compared to those comrades in Cuba. Why are they suffering like that? Because they decided to take an ideological position against imperialist forces led by America. We must take inspiration from those people. And where we can help the Cubans, let's do that. I said to the TG, if we ask, because ours is very clear, that thing of declaring money to the IEC and nonsense, it's a mission of the Oppenheimers to see who's funding the EFF. I said to TG, we need to find the individuals who can each give us 99,000 rand, not more than the threshold, so that we don't get to distolose them. Put that money together, buy food, and send to Cuba. That's who we are. Insult us anyhow you want. We build houses for disabled people when we've got houses, because their pain is our pain. So when we do that, you must know we're doing that against America. It will never like that. But are we going to retreat because America doesn't want us to do that? Never. Even if America decides that I should no longer enter America, it's okay, I will enter Zimbabwe. I'll enter Botswana, I'll enter Nigeria, I'll enter Africa, my home. Why should I be concerned about people who are going to feed me beggars and make me fat when I can go to Nigeria and eat jollof? Nice, nom. Nice food. So why must I fight for beggars instead of jollof? When we're in Nigeria, you must, DSG was there. We're given a nice jollof rice and what is that goat soup? Pepper soup by the governor of that state, Enugu State. Hey, my guy, we were sweating, but we're not stopping. Sweating but not stopping. That's how nice Africa is. So you want to threaten me that you won't give me a visa to America or give me a visa to London? I don't care. I'll go to Africa and enjoy the company of my own people. One day this will come to an end. Even if it's not achieved under me, I must lay a foundation for those who come after me, that we must not hero worship America, so to an extent that when we are threatened that we can't get visas, we retreat on our ideological position. Fidel went to the grave. I went to bury him. He didn't have a visa to America. So who am I?